Today on the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, it feels like it's been an Eternals tea, but it's here now.
Bazinga!
I didn't think you could make it worse. Actually, you made it worse.
Eternals has finally hit theaters, and we watched it. Let's talk about it. All that we have no control over.
Welcome to the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. My name is Matthew Carroll.
And I'm Jeff Randall.
And in our third chair today, we have Ashley Coffin. How you doing, Ash?
I'm great. I felt like I was in the theater for an eternity, but I'm out and I'm feeling
Eternals
good.
tea.
Oh, it's better.
Yeah. When you repeat it, it gets better.
Listen, these jokes, if you asked me to buy or sell them, I would sell less, steal them. Best I could do. Short notice.
It's okay. I like it.
Matt, don't be a deviant.
Well, jumping in. Let's talk about spoiler free. What did you guys think? What are your we always do a spoiler free up top for the new movies. So what do you think?
Spoiler free up top. The critics that were bad faith reviewing over The Kiss are just a bunch of assholes. Like,
yeah, for sure.
When I saw it, I was like, that's it? Like, that's what? Okay, sure.
Right. You're just saying
it's so natural for me. I honestly didn't even notice it, and everyone was like, then people were like, that wasn't a big deal. I'm like, what wasn't? Oh, it was.
Yeah, definitely not
exactly. But the movie, I don't know. Like, I don't feel the same as the Rotten Tomatoes score, but I personally was not incredibly captured by this movie. It was all right, but it had a difficult goal to achieve, I think.
I said it before I went to see the movie, and that was like this movie is set on really hard level to try to achieve. Introducing a group of 10 characters and making me care about them is tough. And my main issue with this movie is that exact thing. It's like, there's nothing in this movie I don't like. I like all the things that happen. I enjoy all of the characters. I enjoy all the things that happen. I like what the movie's about. There's like pretty good depth for every character, but there's just so many characters, and I don't feel like it has a point of view.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like any character was the protagonist.
The thing that makes Marvel movies great is the fact that you care about the characters and the story.
Right.
And I just really felt like both of those things were really lacking here, and it was a very long movie.
It was.
Yeah.
After I left the movie, I felt like I had seen a season of a pretty good TV show, but I felt like it could have been broken up into like 6 episodes, and I would have enjoyed it.
God, if this had been a TV show, it would have been so much easier to get all 10 of these characters at like enough time, and all 10 of these characters, like some heart. And I just, with 2.5 hours, you don't really have the time to spare, And like, I think this movie, to try to keep it spoiler free, and I think this is mostly spoiler free, like, this movie tried to balance the cosmic version or the cosmic side of the Eternals and where they came from and the Celestials and all that. They tried to balance that along with the innate humanity that they are supposed to have gathered over their time here, here being on Earth. And I feel like if they had focused on either one of those things, that it would have been a much better film, but it felt like it was being pulled apart into 2 different movies and didn't quite land on either of them,
Mm-hmm. You make another great point. I was talking about the like sort of difficulty level of it being 10 characters, but the other thing they're trying to do here is introduce the concept of the Eternals, which is heady. And then there's like the concept of the Deviants and the Celestials themselves and like where the universe comes from. Like, it's a lot of things stacked into this movie. And just like the Celestials, the Eternals, and Deviants is a lot. it's a lot to try to process.
They did do a great job. I mean, I feel like the effects now always look like movies have really nailed the effects. And this was beautiful. It was like
it really was.
It was a gorgeous movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was like just coming off of Dune too. It was like they both kind of had a grandiose kind of feature film. Like it felt like it was good to kind of like see some big epic movies again.
Yeah.
And it was pretty, but
it was pretty. It was very pretty. It didn't quite get there on any front. And
I thought the inclusiveness and the things that they were trying to say were important, but you need to also have a story. Like you can't just be like, we're going to put things in there and hope for the best, but they just didn't tie it into the story. I don't know. It was like, that was what I appreciated the most out of the movie and like nothing else. And I hate to say it that way.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I didn't feel that strongly. I actually think that every individual story in this movie has a lot of heart and like, I don't want to get into spoilers because it's the spoilers free section, but as soon as we cross over the spoiler threshold, I will say all the heart I think these characters had. And like each character had a really in-depth thing they were caring about and wanting to do. And they all had a lot of pathos, but like, there's just so much going on that it never let me get invested in any of those
once
characters.
you started to care about a character, you left them for like 35 minutes.
That is very true. So let's get into spoilers because it's hard to even talk about the rest without just diving right in. So how about we do a classic 3, 2, 1? You want to do it, Jeff?
Sure.
You ready for it?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Spoiler.
Icarus betrayed everybody.
Was that Fury?
Did indeed. I don't think that was Fury.
I don't think it was Fury.
Someone else asked me that too. I don't think it sounded like him at all.
Yeah, I don't think it sounded like Fury. I mean, it could have been Strange, maybe.
I didn't think it sounded like him either. I need to go listen. Anyway, but yeah, so Icarus betrayed them. That's a big one. And at the end, I guess the Black Knight, who we didn't really get to see much out of in this movie, got asked. Someone is on to him, but we don't even know anything about his story. Like that's one of the most like far out there post-credit sequences we've ever had because it's just like, what? Who's even? We don't know who he is. We don't know who the character on the screen is, much less the character off the screen.
Did they even say his name was Dane or?
They did.
They did. Okay.
Yeah.
Like she called him Dane, and then the person at the end called him Mr. Whitman.
That's so sparse.
Like Cersei, called him Dane like a lot.
Yeah.
I guess.
And on her phone, it said Dane Whitman.
Oh, okay. Good.
So
yeah. So getting into these characters and like I really did love a lot of these characters. I thought like Cersei's like pull between humanity and like the Eternals was great. I thought that Ajax like being torn as a leader who's supposed to be leading them to this thing, but feeling abandoned after 7,000 years. And like clearly after a Babylon, things felt so heavy that she had to tell Icarus. And that like, that's a big deal. Like there's so many good storylines going on. Like the Sprite stuff, I actually got really invested in the Sprite stuff. Like I can't grow up and I can't have a family. That whole speech was really, really well done. And
it just felt kind of like dogpiling, though, for me.
It did.
It's very Kirsten Dunst Interview with the Vampire, like turning young vampires. Like that's something.
Right. Yeah.
Because that sucks.
Yeah, for sure. You don't ever want to turn a young vampire, everybody.
No, I do not want to be 13 forever. No, and thank you. Or 50. I can't tell the age of children.
I can't either.
That kid was anywhere between 10 and 17.
Yeah.
That kid was roughly 7,000 years old this time.
Truth.
Give or take.
I loved Thena's storyline. Like the idea that she's like so powerful, but she keeps going kind of crazy.
PTSD.
Yeah. Well, PTSD, but also just insanity with the power to kill your friends.
Did they flesh out why she was being possessed, or like what? Did you guys pick up on what was happening there? Because it just went right over my head.
Yeah, it was. They said it was her memories causing her to basically
just go into fight mode.
Basically, yeah. I mean, it's the same way how like post-war veterans with PTSD have those flashbacks where they're just like, I gotta fight. Like
that would happen to like Logan too, right? Like Wolverine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That makes
sense. Where they get the battle rage, and then they go all out, and then it takes somebody maybe not punching them into the ground real hard, but it takes somebody like bringing them to their senses before they can,
right?
They come back and they're like, oh God, what did I do? Who did I hurt?
Yeah,
like Bucky.
And what they said it was that like. This was an Eternal specific thing they're talking about. It was like her memories from past lives were flooding back into her brain.
They call it Mad Weary.
Yeah, Mad Weary. And they apparently are not supposed to remember anything from their past lives, but they even said at one point in the movie, something must have gone wrong. This is her past lives, right? Yeah. Something went wrong when they tried to wipe her last time and it didn't work. It didn't take. And so she talked about like Centauri 6 and how Centauri 6 had been destroyed. That must have been one of her previous worlds.
Yep. It's called Mad Weary.
Yeah.
Like I'm mad weary. So tired.
Right.
I'm mad weary.
Like there's a madness that is induced from being weary of the
they're like,
the fight that you have to be
thought that one out real hard.
Yeah, it was a little.
Say she's mad weary.
I mean, I don't know that post-traumatic stress disorder was really a thing in the 1500s when they brought up Mad Weary.
Yeah. And I don't know if connecting it directly to post-traumatic stress is exactly analogous, but it is, I see why you would connect it.
In an interview, Angelina Jolie specifically said that Athena has PTSD.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, okay.
So that's how she was playing it.
Interesting.
I guess it's also interesting that Eternals aren't that eternal. I mean, lost a couple of them.
Yeah.
Like
we did
outside of it's kind of like elves, outside of being murdered, they live forever.
It's true.
But there were a few murders.
I was sad not to get more Selma. Like you promised me Selma. Right. You said that she was a headliner of this movie, and she was not.
And she was only there in flashbacks.
She got as much screen time as anyone else, though. Well, maybe not anyone else, but she got a lot of screen time. Like, because she's in a lot of the first part of the movie, then even after she dies, she comes back throughout like a good bit. I didn't feel an absence of her in this movie. I think we will feel an absence of her, next time
in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's not in the final, the third act, I guess. Well, she is just the as a projection for a second.
Right.
What about Star Fox?
Yeah.
Eros
as played by Harry Styles, right? That's who that guy is.
I'm going to get on my soapbox and I'm going to scream it again. Can we start giving new young actors roles? Let people be discovered. Do we know if he can act? Like he was in Dunkirk. I'm sure he was fine in that role, but I mean, I saw the movie. It was whatever. It wasn't like a major role, but I don't know. I'm sorry. I know so many people love his pretty face.
Oh, a ton of people are like, oh my God, Harry Styles is the best.
But I always say, Tom Hiddleston and Chris Hemsworth were pretty much nobodies, and they took a risk, a chance on these young upcoming actors.
Right.
And look at them now.
I agree, but I'm not going to judge Harry Styles. Like, I don't know his stuff or his music or anything, but I think like he could be great, and so like I'm gonna give him a chance. And I thought the little bit we saw of him was great. I liked it a lot.
Well, like that character, like judging based on comics, that character is basically what is the term? He's a bit full of himself and can't really deliver on it, so he has to be taught how to be a hero. So, I mean, that kind of seems like right up Harry Styles' alley, maybe. I don't know. Like, he could be like, I'm so great. Oh, shit, I'm not that great. Oh, no.
Which I think, like, I got that out of what I saw from him, which is, like, kind of impressive in even just the few seconds he's on screen.
And that's Thanos' brother. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that is.
And that, like, right then, my wife turns to me and is like, so if that, does that mean that Thanos is an Eternal?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'll have to explain it later. So that's going to be
he's
fun.
not purple. I was like, I'll explain later.
I can't explain. I don't know why. I know the deviant gene is in the comics. Why? But
didn't Thanos come out kind of like he was like, as they would have said, imperfect or
right? They say
because
of the deviant gene. But that's the thing is, like, if he was part deviant, why didn't they get involved? Maybe they just didn't know.
Or maybe it's just like the hierarchy now, and because he was like the son of the rich people, they covered it
up. Eternals are automatons at this point, basically, right? It seems they can't breed, but maybe Thanos was the result of an experiment, genetic experiment that, turned him into whatever he was.
Purple.
Yeah. Grimace.
Yeah, that's
section.
crazy.
I don't know. Yeah. Like that, I can't. I'm not Feige, so I can't explain how they're going to explain it in the MCU.
Right.
But that's my best guess, or like right out of the gate.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get a little more. What did you guys think of Patton Oswalt's return to the MCU?
What do you mean return? Oh yeah,
he was MODOK.
No, he was Koenig.
He was Koenig on. He was also MODOK, but he's in the Marvel universe a lot now.
Yeah. I think he's the most prolific actor in the MCU at this point.
Like at least 6 characters.
Yeah.
4 of them named Koenig, but still.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, twins or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So
it's hard to talk about this movie, though, in terms of, like, we've spent the past, 5 to 10 minutes talking about the post-credits scene.
I know.
Right. I'm trying to dive back into the movie. I think these characters are super interesting. Like, I really do. And I think, like, they did a good job of building interesting characters. I really love Phastos, his storyline of, like, feeling responsible for the atomic bomb.
Oh, like, my God.
That was really heartrending. They did a great job. Chloe Zhao, I don't know how to say her name exactly, did a freaking amazing job of putting these moments on screen that are just like, I immediately get this character. Like it barely, like, most of the time in the movie was spent like building the sort of backstory and world and like events of the film, like the emergence and this and that. The actual character development was like done in very small moments, but they were all really well done.
Right. I think this movie was best served in the humanity of it and finding the humanity of the Eternals. And it feels like the best moments were when, Cersei is with Dane Whitman, when she's, trying to keep him alive, basically. Yeah. Or when, she's trying to dodge his questions and be like, oh, I can't move in with you because, I'm not going to grow old and you are, and I don't want you to have to live through that. Like, when Sprite is talking about how I just want to grow up, I want to experience all the things that I saw them do. And when Kingo was like, I got into movies because I missed your storytelling, Sprite. Like, all of these superhuman, all of these incredibly human, connection moments were like the best parts of the movie, but like that wasn't the focus of it. Or at least it wasn't the main focus. And I feel like it should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is like those moments if I'm going to rewrite this movie, I would take those moments and I would make them sort of like show why the Eternals want to turn on the Celestials. And it doesn't feel that way. It's sort of this like, they love humans. They love this world. That's just sort of told to us. But then they give them all these very human moments. And there's a few like connections to humanity moments. But like, we don't get to see them like, with the exception of Cersei and Faustus. We don't see them truly loving humans. You know what I mean? Like they're sort of like living around humans, and we see they've been with humans, and basic empathy would show you that they might care about these people they've lived among for 7,000 years. But like, I wish they had like really shown us moments of like, I guess we see Druig like really frustrated that he can't help humanity.
Yeah, he was my favorite.
Yeah, I liked Druig a lot.
He had the most pathos.
Mm-hmm. He's like, I can just fix all this. Lickety split.
Yeah.
Stop everyone from fighting.
But like doing that takes away their humanity and their, oh my God, like
his is the most ethical questions come up around him.
Definitely has some ethical questions.
I love the parallel of him saying, if I take away their free will, then that removes their humanity. But like the entire thing that the Eternals were was not having free will, being sent to planet to planet to do this thing and then be reset and move on. Like he was giving the humans the choice that he didn't have.
Yeah. Well, and that's the weird thing is they do have that choice in this world. Like they don't have the knowledge until the end. But like, this is not the comics version of the Eternals, because the comics version, they're not allowed to hurt a Celestial. Like they can't do it. They can't physically do it. There's a thing preventing them from hurting the Celestials. In this, they just straight up killed the Celestial. One punch, man.
Yeah.
That's a different
when
comic.
They all teamed up like the Power Rangers, they made a Megatron or whatever it is.
The Unimind.
There you go.
The Megazord, yeah.
It's interesting that they went for the whole emergence and the hand coming out of the ocean.
That was cool.
It was big. He was so big.
So big.
It was so like something that size. Like speaking as a fan of physics. Something that
the tidal
size.
wave that would have taken over the Earth.
Yeah, like Earth is still fucked at this point. Like,
yeah,
right.
Something that large coming out in any capacity is still just going to wreck everything.
Yeah,
like even the small amount that it did come out, everything's wrecked.
Would have done a lot of damage for sure.
Yeah,
it's fine. That's
man, I love that she turned it to stone and now that's just there. I think it's so cool.
Yeah,
that reminds me of like in more recent comics within the past couple of years, the Avengers have had a headquarters in the like what was I think it was like the first Eternal or something like that. It's like in the head of the first Eternal, which is or not the first Eternal, the first Celestial that came to Earth.
Like nowhere.
It's sort of like nowhere, but it's like it's in the not Antarctica, the North Pole. It's in the North Pole, and like it's dead, long since gone, but it's still just like the shell is there, and their headquarters is there. It's kind of interesting that it's a headquarters, but now they can do that. They could do that.
I hope so.
Yeah,
sky's the limit now.
Good. Yeah.
Far beyond the sky at this point.
Anybody else get like mad Galactus vibes when
for
Eternal
sure
showed up?
Yeah, I was confused in the trailer when I saw it for the first time and didn't like look at it again. I was like, oh my God, did they just show us Galactus? But I feel like this is just, they're getting us ready for that. They're just like, here's a little taste. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
How's it going?
What do you think about giant things going to consume the world?
It's a lot bigger. It's just going to swallow worlds. It's pretty big.
Yep.
You guys ready?
They're prepping us.
Yeah.
They did it. They did it with What If. They did it with this. Like, we got the big face in the sky. Galactus is coming.
In comics, Galactus has no real connection to the Celestials, right?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
I don't remember.
It'd be interesting to me if, like, I could see them, like, they just took 3 Celestials off to judge the Earth. Like, to look at their memories and judge the Earth. Be interesting if, like, they used
3
Galactus. 3, what did I say?
Celestials.
God, we're both doing that back and forth. they just took 3 Eternals off into space to judge the Earth. And it's like, I could totally see them being like, okay, we judged the Earth is not worth saving. Now send out Justice. He's like, send
out Galactus.
Send Galactus, like unleash Galactus to go take down the Earth. Because it will feel weird. If they do Galactus soon, it will feel weird if he's not connected to the Celestials, because it's just such a similar iconography, I guess.
He comes with the Fantastic Four, right? Which is next. In
Supposedly they're in this phase, but we don't know when or where.
Later.
It's much later.
The later.
The other thing about this is they did not end this story at all. Like, yes, they stopped the one Celestial, but no one in the story is like resolved. Everyone's like, 3 of them have been taken away into, I cannot remember their god's name, Arithel or something. Or
Erisham.
Okay. 3 of them have been taken into Erisham's hand, and like the 3 of them have been just encountered Eros, which is a whole different storyline while they're on their way to meet more Eternals, which like that's a cool little thing. They're going around trying to free more Eternals. That's neat. I'm very interested in what happens next, but it all feels like completely unresolved. Whereas I feel like normally Marvel ends the story and then throws us a post-credit sequence that like teases us. But I feel like all of these stories feel unfinished. And then the Black Knight story didn't even get to start.
Yeah.
No. This is the most filler movie that Marvel has ever done. Like, it just really, they said it was going to be the building blocks for the next, couple movies, but I don't see how this is going to tie into the next couple movies at all. Or maybe they just meant the next phase.
There's a lot cosmic that's going on. So, Guardians of the Galaxy kind of makes sense because, they, in the first Guardians, they showed the Celestials using the Power Stone to wipe out a whole bunch of whatever. The Thor, maybe.
Yeah. I felt like Eros seemed like he would be perfectly fitting in a Guardians movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So much is around the end credit scene. Yeah.
Right. I want Eros matched up with Adam Warlock. I want them to have like a who's prettier competition.
Yeah, that would be nice. That'd be very nice. Actually, that sounds pretty funny, especially if the character of Eros is similar to what you're saying in the comics, where he's like, big on himself, and he thinks
Eros
he's very impressive.
Is the Greek god of love,
right?
Yeah.
But he thinks he's so impressive, but then he meets the perfect being in Adam Warlock. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of a funny like dichotomy. He's like, look how good I am. I have this guy who goes around telling people how great I am. I'm so
the troll,
so impressive. And then he meets the actual perfect being or whatever. That sounds about right. I like it.
It's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, pretty great. Well,
so what else?
What does it mean for the rest of the MCU? Anything in the chat that we got?
I have Spike493 says someone in our theater said the voice at the end might have been Blade, might have been Mahershala Ali.
Ooh, interesting. I'd have to listen to it again.
Is that the right person for that though? Like.
I have
Does
no idea.
Dane Whitman have... I don't remember Dane Whitman having any connection to...
I don't know anything about him.
I know nothing about the Black Knight. But I could see it. If he's like a badass knight who needs to go fight some monsters, like, yeah, bring him into the Blade dark part of the universe.
Well, like, that sword that he has is supposed to be meteorite, enchanted by Merlin for Dane's ancestor, Sir Perciva, or is it?
Right.
Forget that.
Right. Some sort of powerful sword that's been passed down in his family, and it used to give powers to a villain, right? It was like a villain.
His uncle. His uncle was a villain.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and Cersei said, you've been wanting to reconcile with your uncle.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh my God, yes, please get us there. Like, and then they didn't.
No, it kind of did though. Like he said, go reconcile with your uncle, and then he went and reconciled with his uncle, and then came back in the post-credit sequence having gotten the sword probably from his uncle.
Okay.
Probably.
That makes sense.
I don't see anything on a quick Goog of him and Blade having anything to do with each other in the comics, so...
Yeah, I don't think so on that one.
Okay.
But what would make sense is, since he deals with magic and mystical things, it makes sense for Doctor Strange to have been the one to say something to him.
Sure.
Yeah.
The ebony blade is the blade that he has, and it has a lot of powers. Like one of the things, and like the thing that they seem to focus on there is, it seems to collect souls to increase its own power and like extend the life of the wielder.
Wow.
So,
can I get one of those, please?
He could be eternal too.
Ooh.
Oh. What was the fast one's name? She was great.
Makari.
Oh, I loved her so much.
Yeah, she was really great.
And her power was awesome.
It was so cool. I love a good speed blitz.
And they did it differently. Like, we've seen it a lot recently, and I feel like they were still able to make it a little original in this, which I appreciated.
Yeah. I love the whole, like, one of her major attacks being just to break the sound barrier right in front of you. And just,
so cool.
That was so cool.
That's really awesome. That's really, really great.
Like, that actress is actually deaf. So, her major form of communication is sign language, and that was actual just ASL that they were doing on screen. I was like, hey, I can read. I can understand that.
Oh, cool.
That's neat.
Because I had a couple of classes of ASL back in high school, and, a little bit rattles around in there every now and again.
That's great. Man, I wish with Makari they'd given her a little more to do, because I liked her power, and I liked her... Like, the way that she was just interesting and expressive. But, like, she's the one that I think about, and I'm like, what is her, like, she was bored. Like, that's really, like, the only thing we got out of her, right? Like, I don't know what her story was.
I liked her relationship with Druig. I wish we got more of that. I
liked it too.
I liked the two of them.
But the fact that it was weird and out of nowhere, and then even to the other Eternals, they're like... Is that new? I don't like it. Like, which was a funny line, but it was like, why? I would have liked to know a little more about it. And I think we will, because
why don't you like it?
They're out in space together. Yeah. I like is that new? I don't like it. She's just the only one that her, like, motivation, I don't feel like I know what her motivation for much is. Whereas the other ones I have very clear.
Well, honestly, like, Kingo was one of my favorite characters in this film. Like, I love his complexity, in that he still feels that the loyalty to Erisham and the Celestials, and giving birth to thousands of other planets or whatever. Like, billions upon billions of other life can be spawned into existence because of what they're doing, but he still doesn't want to completely destroy everybody on Earth. Like, I feel like his struggle on that, like, as far as trying to balance those two things, it was actually really good, and it was great. I wish they had focused more on that. God.
Yeah, I loved that, and I love his line at the end there where he's like, I disagree with you guys. Like, I think I love the humans, but, like, the Earth has to go. Like, Erisham is right. Like, we have to move, or like, we have to. This is the cycle of life. Like, and I'm on Team Erisham, but I'm not going to fight you guys. Like, I'm not going to do violence to my family because of it, which I thought was, like, a really kind of a beautiful, like, I disagree with you, but I'm not going to, like, fight you.
Yeah, it's such a contrast to what Icarus did.
Yeah.
God.
And then freaking Sprite stabbing Cersei is like insane.
I know, it was intense.
How dare she?
And they showed you forgiveness. You know, Cersei is a bigger person than I am.
Well, that's the thing. Cersei, sometimes I felt like the Celestials, I said call them the Celestials again. Sometimes I felt like the Eternals didn't react enough to certain things. Like, in that first scene when the Deviants are back after being gone for 2,000 years.
500 years.
That's right. The 1500 AD they were in.
Yeah, it was like 1521 in Tenochtitlan, I think it was.
Okay. Well, they're fighting a deviant for the first time in 500 years, and they don't seem that surprised. Like, you know, like it felt like they should be a little more flustered.
They should be
time for them is much shorter. So like 500 years probably feels like 2 years.
Sure.
None of them had any emotion. They really didn't. Not until like the very end. They felt very stiff. I don't know.
I don't agree with no emotion, but I think that they don't feel surprised by much. They're all very unflustered.
Maybe that's what causes it. Like when you go through so much.
Sure.
And so many, like the bomb and Hiroshima and like Babylon, that like, they're back. All. Okay, well, let's go deal with this.
Yeah, there's a deviant. I guess they're always on Earth waiting on their mission to start back up in a way, because they know they're there for a mission and waiting for something to happen.
They weren't even that upset that they found out that their lives were all fake or whatever that was about. That was pickled in there somewhere.
Cersei definitely was. They were pretty upset.
I think Fastos gave us the best, the most real emotion on that. Like, you could see he was crying. He had been crying. And he's like, when he was telling Icarus, like, I would change nothing, not a thing about my existence. But my existence is not for Arishem. It is for my family. I was like, oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
this man's really got so many feels.
They could only focus on certain characters, and then you didn't get to see how the other ones reacted to it at all.
Yeah, only a few characters here and there.
We did get basically everyone's reaction. The only one that was last was funny because we got everyone's reaction. And I actually think they mostly reacted pretty big and broad to that. But then the last one was freaking Makari on the ship. And she's like, what you're saying is da-da-da-da-da? You're saying I've been sitting here bored for, 500 years and...
Yeah.
And then it turns out our mission's... not, or the mission was never the mission or whatever. And it's like, also the world's ending. It's very, very funny. Very, very funny.
Like, world ending, whatever. But I've been bored for no reason.
Yeah. That was super good. When Cersei first came out of the vision, and then she tells them all, it's a pretty big scene for everybody, but yeah. They're pretty nonplussed, the whole team. And I feel like with a little more freak out, we might have been a little more in their shoes. The movie just needed they should have made Cersei more of the point of view character. She is the one you start the movie with, you end the movie with, and she's the one that has to do the final thing. But they should have made her more of the point of view character. I really think the movie would have been a lot better if she is this is my first time as a Eternal, my first mission. She's
Eternal Prime now.
Right.
Yeah. Prime Eternal. What could have made it better is if Dane Whitman had insisted on going with them.
Right.
Instead of just being on the other end of the phone every now and again.
It's already good jokes about how he's her valet.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my God. Yes. He would have been great. He could have been I'll go with you. Just give me a minute, and gone to grab the sword. If he had already had it.
Yeah.
I remember waiting for that scene, that end scene, because we saw it in the trailers so much the entire movie. I'm like, where is the scene when they're on the hill and something happens? And then last 5 minutes, Cersei gets swooped up and taken away. And I was there it is.
Mm-hmm. I was promised that he would see what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah. Just if he had gone along for the ride, he could have been the character that everybody expositions to. and he could have been the audience lens, into that world.
Totally. I think they wanted to make the Eternals themselves the focus, but they just didn't pick one. And if you've got 10 people in a movie, you have to pick one. And I don't feel like any one of the 10 characters really got the most screen time. Like, I could not tell you who got the most screen time.
Probably Angelina, maybe, or
really?
Cersei.
I don't think so.
I feel like it was a lot of Angelina. I saw her face a lot.
See, but there's whole chunks of the movie that don't have her in it. I feel, if I had to guess, I would say Icarus probably had the most screen time.
Yeah.
But
probably. I feel like Dane Whitman should have had the most screen time.
It would have been nice. I liked his character, and I would have liked to see him more.
Like, he could have been... I think
we're going to, which is exciting.
He could have been our voice. He could have been the people, or he could have been the person that's like, none of you seem perturbed about any of this. Why aren't you reacting? And they're like, we've just seen it all before.
Yeah.
Like, he could have been that, that voice of everything that we're talking about. Like, oh, you guys you have that connection. Okay. I get it. You guys have been around for a while together. Like, he could have been that voice of the audience. And, I don't know. We had the valet of Kingo. I feel like if that had been replaced with Dane Whitman, it might have been better.
Yeah. I liked the valet a lot.
The valet.
It provided
really funny.
Provided some much needed lightness and comedy to this movie. That really needed the lightness and comedy.
Oh my God. When Kingo was up under the one in South America, that one deviant, and he blasts his head off, and he's like, "Did you get that?" It's like, "Yes, sir, I did, sir."
That was really.
I love that guy thanked the ones that wanted to save humanity. He's like, "No, really, thank you.
Thank you for everything you've done."
You.
But he still, that's the thing. He did that, but then he still went with the one. He went with Kingo. I wish he had convinced Kingo to fight for him. That could have been a great scene. If he had Kingo's leaving and he's following him and he's like, "But sir, I've served you all this time, and don't you want to save my people?" There could have been a great scene where he comes back finger guns blazing,
Yeah. Yeah.
Finger guns blazing. I love it.
Pick you.
I heard an interview with him talking about how they asked him he asked them okay, so all the Marvel characters, when they do things with their hand, they always have something they're going to be doing. And he asked the director, what do you want me to do? And she's like, finger guns. And he's like, really? Finger guns? That's what I'm going to be doing the whole time? And he's like, every action sequence that I filmed, I was just like, they better make this look cool.
They did. His power was cool.
It was freaking awesome. It was freaking awesome.
It was cool. I love that he also got to do kind of the Kamehameha thing.
Yeah, build up the power.
Mm-hmm. Distract him. I got this.
Give me a minute to charge this one up.
Yeah. So I loved all their powers.
I would have liked it explained a little bit more, a little bit more in depth of what everybody's exact powers were. Because Cersei's powers were crazy. She could do all kinds of stuff.
Just transmutation, right? Basically.
Yeah, hers is basically just transmutation.
But for the first half of it, I was like, so she controls the elements? I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah. She can change one thing into another thing. It's
she's what alchemists want to happen.
Yeah.
Transmutation magic, basically.
Yeah.
She's a sorcerer like Doctor Strange.
Gilgamesh was freaking awesome.
Oh, he's such a badass. Especially
cool.
the kiss the cook.
Yes.
When he got his pie out of the oven.
The Gilgamesh illusion was so funny.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, I'm a giant baby. Cool. Great."
It was sad to lose him.
It was. It was.
I didn't think it was entirely necessary. I get it, but I was like, okay, well, he's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn it.
Mm-hmm. It's such a varied group, such a cool power set. I like all the characters. I like all the actors. It just feels like the movie is long and doesn't focus. And that's a bummer.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
Ken hated it.
Yeah.
I've never heard him say that about
I think there's going to be a lot of people that really hate it. And that sucks.
And it's not for any of the Rotten Tomatoes. He was just I just could not, I don't care. He was like, this is Marvel's their one swing and a miss, and it's because I get saying that they tried to take too big of a bite, like bit off more than they could chew, with being like, okay, let's try to do 10. We did it with 6. Let's try to do 10. But like when you did those 6 in the Avengers, we already met 3 of them in a movie.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
That's the problem. Like it's like you said. Well, and with the Avengers, we met all 6 of them, right? Yeah, we met all 6 of them at that point.
I meant like who had like their own.
Right. 4 of them had their own movie, but like, yeah, it's not how you. Earlier this year, I heard this rumor, and apparently it's true. I've read it in a couple places now, that apparently every time they make a Marvel movie, before they sit down to decide how they're going to make it, they watch Superman, like the first Superman movie. Because like the old 70s Superman.
That's interesting.
Because they talk about how like that was the first big superhero movie, and it is a kind of a study on how to build an arc and how to like make a hero, how to tell an origin story, right? Like that's the thing.
You'll believe a man can fly.
Exactly. Like make us believe a man can fly, make us believe whatever this character is true, but give him heart and give him like that's something that apparently Marvel does, which I think is very interesting. Right. But this felt like they didn't do that at all. Like and it almost felt, you know the phrase playing with house money?
Yes.
When you've won so much that you start making stupid bets.
Yeah, you're like, whatever. I only came here with 50. I have 300, so I have 250 to mess around with.
I can mess around with house money. This 250 is house money. Marvel is playing with house money, and they did that with Guardians, and I think Guardians is the biggest swing to date, and it's one of the biggest hits to date. Like, it's freaking awesome. They played with house money. They were so hitting on all cylinders. They were willing to make this insane movie about a fucking talking tree and a gun-wielding raccoon. Like, it's just an insane idea, and they did it, and they knocked it out of the park. This is a much more difficulty level of like, we're going to make a movie with no characters you've ever heard of before, and there's going to be 10 of them, and you don't have any affection. There's not any affection from comics, really, most people, and we're just going to try to make you like 10 characters. And it's going to be a slow drama. Like, it's not even going to be funny or fun or quippy. Like, there's a little bit of that, but it's like, we're going to make a drama.
Yeah.
Like a slow pace historical drama with 10 characters you've never seen before. Like, what the hell are they doing?
I started to care more about that deviant who was starting to like talk and feel things and have emotions, and then they just killed him. I was
so annoyed with that. When he jumped in the fight against Icarus, I really freaking wanted a moment. Like, I understand the deviants were created basically to go and kill predators, and they're like, so they're basically have just been running around killing sentient life because they're the biggest predators. It's like a whole thing, but like, they were created to do that. But the Eternals have been created to help the Celestials destroy worlds. I wanted a moment of recognition where he joins the fight against Icarus, and then they go, wait, he's kind of like us. Like, do you want to save this world? And him to be like, yes, I want to save this world. Like, like I wanted the move to end with like 5 or 6 Eternals and 1 deviant on the team. Like, that's what I wanted in that moment. And instead they just like, well, let's murder this guy because of how he was made. Like, kill him. Even though he's clearly sentient and he only wants to fight you because you've been killing his people for eons. Yeah.
Like he said, we all just wanted to survive.
Yeah.
He had so much affection for him.
Team Deviants.
I was Team Deviants in that moment.
I'm like, is that what you wanted, Marvel? I don't think so.
They really didn't. Because the thing is, the Deviants, they don't really give us a chance to see the Deviants doing what the Deviants do, which is just killing sentient life for fun, it seems like.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't see it.
I didn't see much of that. So, like, when I see this guy just fighting his oppressors, I'm like, maybe I'm on that guy's team.
Yeah. Let's listen to what that guy has to say.
I did not expect this podcast to end with us on Team Deviant. Just wasn't what I was expecting, guys.
We'll sit with it. Everybody write in.
Everybody write in.
What you think. Give us something. We'll be able to pick it apart. It was a lot of information to take in at once to then sit down and do a podcast about. Like, it was a lot of information.
Yeah, I was pretty worried coming in to do this podcast because I was like, I don't know what we're gonna have. I don't know what we're gonna do. We got a bunch of people writing in the chat. Huge bunch of people writing in the chat. I don't know if we're gonna get to everybody, but just like scanning through, we got like
it's like mostly about the sex scene. So I'm just kinda, like,
I haven't gotten to that. Catherine Ray wrote in, says, what was noticeably absent for me was the whole voiceover, including "we have watched and guided and not intervened" bit from the first trailer. That was another like Marvel lies to us, which I'm fine with, but like, yeah, I think this movie did a good job of like including that concept, even though the voiceover wasn't in there, you know?
I just think it's that Selma Hayek was noticeably absent, you know, from like present day, what's the word? Like present day happenings, you know?
That's a good one. Where I get it.
Like, we got her in the 6 days ago, and then like, you know, she got killed, and you know, yay backstory, or yay revealing what happened in the plot. But like, I still just would have liked more of her in modern time. You know, like I keep going back to like this movie would have been better as a series, and if it had been like a limited series with, you know, 9 hours maybe, you know, total, and have like progressively, you know, have her go progressively farther and farther away from Arishem with every meeting and every couple of centuries. Have her, you know, talk to Arishem again and be like, you know, these people, they're pretty all right. Like, going a little farther and a little farther, and that would have been so great to like have that build up and have her have that love, and then that would have made that turn from Icarus, that betrayal, so much more real and so much more heart-wrenching, because we didn't get any love for her built up before that happened.
Yeah.
I guess I did. I felt affection for her, but it was like mostly because of how much everyone else cared for her. Because you get to see so many of them, their reactions to her death, and like they call her mom in a few places and stuff, and like so there's like this clear like she cared for them, and like so when I got to her talking about turning on Arishem, and then like the twist was really great. I thought the twist in this movie was wonderful. The fact that Icarus, who's been like this defender of everybody the whole movie because he's like the strongest, they say, which kind of came out of nowhere. They don't say that for like the first hour, and then they start all calling him boss and the strongest and stuff. And I was like, when did that happen? I don't know. Maybe I missed it early on. Yeah, when he turned, I was shocked. I was really surprised. Did not expect him to, he said earlier he had to tell something to Cersei, and then he's like, I'm not who you think I am. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then it goes to that flashback, and then he kills Ajax, and I was like, man.
No good, Rob Stark. No good.
Rob Stark.
No good, Rob Stark.
See, Spike493 says, I can't believe they killed my favorite character, Gilgamesh. Gemma Chan's character should have died instead. Was that Cersei? Is that Gemma Chan?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Gemma Chan.
I was like, I think that's the only one I didn't know the name of. Yeah. I liked Cersei. I didn't have a problem with her. I think she is the most boring, but in that way that like the neutral mask, you know what I'm talking about? Like the neutral, she was supposed to be our point of view character, and the point of view character is supposed to be sort of like blank, is kind of neutral mask. The idea of the neutral mask is like you don't give them too much interesting about their character. Like you have Luke Skywalker is the point of view character. He's not Han Solo. You can't make Han Solo the lead of a movie,
because otherwise he's not a swashbuckler,
like
roguish scoundrel.
Well, and that's the thing, is when they did it,
you didn't see Solo.
Well, no, I liked Solo actually, but that's the thing, when they do that, they make him more Luke Skywalker. You know, when they make Solo, they take him back a few steps from being the swashbuckling whatever. He's no longer the, crazy criminal. He's just like a guy who's working towards being the crazy criminal.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I wish that Cersei had more time to react and more reaction to the things that she was being pushed to do, or, pushed to make a decision on. Because like there were so many times where she stepped away. She's like, I need a minute. And like, she stepped away. And I'm like, no, follow her. Come on, please. Like,
get some air.
Yeah. Like we all need to get some air. We need to have a discussion about why this is such a big deal. Come on. And then they didn't follow her. This movie was frustrating because it had so many good parts, but the sum of the parts was less than the whole.
Yeah, and like the humor was okay. I laughed a couple, but it wasn't as, some of it felt very forced.
Well, you know what's never saved the planet? Your sarcasm. That would have landed better if I hadn't seen it in all the trailers.
All the trailers. Yeah.
It was still funny, but
I went,
Yeah.
Yeah, like, haha, I remember that.
I laughed a few times really hard. I thought a few things were really good. Muzzy Nat in the chat says, Muzzy, good to hear from you, buddy. Says, I actually loved the character work in this movie. I just think the deviant plot was obvious and boring. I agree with that. Actually, like, because the deviant plot wasn't the plot of the movie. It was a red herring. Like, these are the bad guys, so that eventually, when they face the real bad guy, which ends up being Icarus, who flies into the sun, by the way, like, which was,
Is he dead? Is that what happened?
I guess.
I rolled my eyes out of the back of my head when that happened.
Living up to his namesake,
I mean, the Dane Whitman, oh, God, come on. Again, Dane Whitman should have been there through the whole freaking movie and should have been, like, naming off all, because he was doing poetry at the beginning, and when he met Icarus, he said, "Oh, Icarus, the boy who flew too close to the sun," and then Cersei was like, Sprite made that up in whenever we were in Athens.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been so great to have this this mythology historian, whatever you want to call him, like this expert in all of these tales, like kind of like a Legends and Libations guy.
That's a good point.
If he had been along for the ride, I'd been like, oh, Phastos, like Hephaestus, the god of the forge, like. If he could have brought along all of those things and been like, oh, that's just a story that, those people believe this, or, whatever. Like, it would have been so great to have that kind of through line of like how mythology is all kind of similar, you know, like, damn it.
Yeah, there's just no point of view character. And you're right. Dane would have been awesome. And he's just not in it. He's just in the beginning and the end. It's a real bummer.
Yeah.
I hate that this movie is such a downer right now. Like, it's a bummer. There were so many good parts, and just altogether it did not quite get there.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch it again at home.
Yeah.
And take it in. It was beautiful in the theater, but it was a lot of information.
Yeah. Well,
Mikhail Ice says, what the hell was that about? That the deviant started talking and then basically nothing after that. It's like, he's right. It's like this animal deviant becomes sentient. And it's like, oh, how is that going to affect things? And it's like, oh, it doesn't.
Even say it.
It just doesn't.
Yeah. It just doesn't. He runs away. He shows up later.
How did that even happen?
I think he was taking on some of their memories.
He was taking their powers, but it doesn't explain if they knew that all along, they should just have been really going after them to try to.
Well, they didn't know that all along, I think, is the thing that they were going for.
Yeah, this is an onion, and we only took 2 layers off.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a lot more conversations about this. Please write in your thoughts, because we're gonna do a feedback episode early next week, and we'll get that in your feed very soon. So write in at MCUcast mcucast@gmail.com. I don't know what I'm talking about. mcucast@gmail.com is the best way to send in your feedback. If you're a patron, we do give patrons a little, priority. So if you're a patron, send it through Patreon. Just send us a message on there, and we'll try our best to get to as many people as we can on Monday when we record the feedback for this movie. So, all right, I guess that's about it. I guess that's about it. This is, I'm bummed to have so much negative to say about a Marvel movie. I freaking love these movies, and it's a real bummer that and I feel like I'm the most positive of the three of us, and I feel bad. Like,
I don't feel bad.
Well, I just be honest. For bad for me. Like I like enjoy liking Marvel movies, and it's just a bummer to come home from one and not be able to like just completely flip out in a positive way, you know?
Yeah. Especially with such great names behind it, and Academy Award-winning director Chloe Zhao. Like, come on.
Yeah, Chloe Zhao could stay, but like, did we really need Selma and Angelina? Like, did we really need them in there? Or could, I don't know. I don't know. I don't feel like we needed them.
I thought they brought a lot of gravitas. I mean, especially Selma.
Selma did
with the role she's supposed to be playing, but also Thena is mostly a physical character in this movie, which I think Angelina wasn't necessarily for that, but like she did have an element of like, I believed them when they talked about her being like this like goddess of war, like I kind of believe it as Angelina. If it had been someone I'd never heard of, I might not have.
I was like, that's just Lara Croft in a blonde wig. Of course she's the queen of war.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you put on a blonde wig.
That's what happens when you put Lara Croft into a place.
Well, she was Beowulf's mom in that one movie. Yeah.
Oh God.
I picture her with that.
Yeah. Weird. All right, guys.
Let's wrap this thing.
Well, that's all. We'll talk to you guys very soon with more. We'll be back with more Eternals talk early next week, and in just a couple weeks we got Hawkeye coming. I'm so excited for that.
Woo! Christmas.
Christmas.
And like a month and a half till Spider-Man.
Oh, I can't wait.
Right?
So nuts. So
I can't wait for like Spider-Man. I just can't wait.
Same. All right, guys. Have a great day. Peace.
Until next time, true believers.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, available everywhere you get podcasts, and now a video version streaming live on twitch.tv/strandedpandatv and available at youtube.com/strandedpanda. And if you'd like to learn more about all of our other podcasts, geeky projects, and ways to support the network, visit strandedpanda.com.